Okay, I think we can go ahead and start. So I'll just share my screen. And can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So myself, Kalpana, the TPM for the SRW team, and Kath is the PO, and Ram Kumar is the ADM from CTSN. So together we will go over the project kickoff slides. Here is the agenda. We'll be looking on team introduction and the scope of the project, and then the assumptions, dependencies, risk, and then the architectural diagram and teamwork and governance, SLAs and metrics, and next steps and Q&A session. So team introduction. So from Pearson end, we have Catherine Stewart, the product owner, and Ashish Mooney, head of emerging platforms, who decides the budgeting for the project and the resourcing head, and Ashley Tucker, who is the business partner and works along with Nancy and Manik. And Nancy Natti, she's my manager, and she heads the program end, and Manik Kakar, who is the director on the engineering end, and Cesari, he's a manager for the development team, and Mache, who takes care of the DevOps resources, and Hussein from the QA end, and Nathan Harrix from UI UX, and myself, and Jag Roy, who leads the UI UX end. And from Cognizant, we have Ram Kumar and Vinod Ramu and Srivatsan Sheshadri as .NET developer, and Sundar Natarajan and Aditi as front-end developers, Satish and Saravanan as QAs, and we are yet to hire a DevOps resource. And from the GBS end, we have Mona Agarwal, who is the director of the offshore delivery, and Uma Maheshwari Gopal, DGM, and she takes care of the offshore delivery as well. Moving on, Kath, over to you.
Thank you, Kalpana. Hi, everybody. My name is Kath. I hope you can hear me okay. So I'm Kath Stewart, product owner. I'm part of the digital product management team. Okay, I will present. So just give me a second. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see my screen now. So I just wanted to give a bit of business context about the score reporting website and why we're doing it. So we have customers around the world, mostly universities, who accept the Pearson Test of English, PTE, academic, as part of the application process for prospective international students. So this is when students are basically applying to universities overseas to study. Australia is actually a really key market for us because there, as well as working with universities, we actually work with the government. So the government is the only one only government currently to formally recognize PTE academic as part of the visa application process. So when people are migrating to Australia and need to demonstrate their English proficiency, then Pearson Test of English is one of the products that are accepted by that government. There is an existing, let me just check that. Kalpana, you messaged me. Just want to make sure that everyone can hear what I'm saying. Oh, okay. I was sharing my screen. Let me try that again. Sorry, I thought I was. Okay, guys, can you see my screen? Could somebody let me know? Because it says I'm presenting. Can somebody let me know if you can see my screen?
We don't see your screen, Kath.
You don't see my screen?
No.
Okay. Not sure what's going on here. Okay, let's try this again.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. All right now? Brilliant. Sorry about that, guys. And thanks for letting me know about that. Just let it load. Okay, all good? You can see this?
Yes, Kath.
Perfect. Okay. So there is an existing school report website, which institutions, universities, and the like will use to retrieve exam results, so that the results for test takers who've taken PTE, so long as those test takers have consented to allocate the results to them. But the performance is really not great. It can take minutes and minutes to perform core tasks. So it doesn't place us in a strong competitive position with other providers like ETS and Cambridge, who also provide similar high stakes exams. Also, and this sort of brings me to the next slide really, in terms of our goals. We inherited this journey from Pearson VUE. It doesn't, just doesn't really align that closely with the way customers are processing their applications. So our goal is really to kind of design a journey, which we've been doing, that will align more closely with how institutions want to work. And ultimately, that should have a really beneficial effect on Pearson Test of English as a product, because we'll have a better service wraparound, and it should just improve the profile of the exam overall and the recognition of that exam. The Pearson VUE are our technology partner. I'm assuming you're all familiar with Pearson VUE. They developed the current score reporting website that is being used, but they don't, it's a relatively, as far as the whole product portfolio is concerned, PT is a relatively small product, even though it's, as far as ELT is concerned at Pearson, it's very successful. So they don't really have any interest in continuing with it or enhancing it. So things are changing. Next year, once the new score reporting service is live, then the management of that service will transition over to English in Schools, to assessment, away from Pearson VUE, and that involves the management of all of the customers. So the CRM part, the institutions part as well, will also come over to us. We have begun that already, in the sense that we've now integrated with VUE's real-time event notification service, which is how they send us information on test takers, results, allocations from their database. So we are now in a position with our score reporting website in development to receive that data from VUE. And we have a number of epics in line for the next phase of work, which I'll mention in a minute. So in terms of scope and what we're doing, Kalpana, I'll just keep talking to this slide if that's okay. We have a development backlog. We are ready, pretty well refined, with 2 or 3 sprints worth of work. And the remaining backlog is in place and prioritized. So we're hoping to begin development shortly. Kalpana will talk about dates. Our goal is to work in alignment with VUE as much as we can, because we are very dependent on developments they're making on their side. So it would make sense if we're working in parallel with them, and as they complete different work streams, that we're able to test those and the dependent developments on our side. Just to mention what is out of scope, VUE still own the test taker journey. So that's how people registering to take the Pearson Test of English, this is how they register, how they purchase the exam, and how they receive their scores, and ultimately how they send their scores to institution as well. That will all remain with VUE for the time being, although, as I understand it, the plan is for that journey to come over to assessment ultimately as well, but score reporting will come over first. Clarity on identity and access management, you can see there. A certain amount of work was done in the previous development phase to plan for an integration with ForgeRock. That didn't progress for reasons that others on the call could probably explain more than I could, but we need to pick that up again. We need to understand what our identity and access management solution is going to be. So that's sort of on our immediate radar, to pick up those discussions with architecture and understand what that solution is. So just briefly, you can see the Pearson VUE epics in the bottom half of the slide. And this is the data, the information that we are dependent on them, the developments they're making. So I'll explain this first because it means our English and Schools epics will make more sense. So we've already integrated with their R10 Views R10 service to receive candidate results and allocation data, but we now also need to receive the photographs which will appear on the school reports when institutions retrieve them. That's a really key part of the identification process. View are also developing, at our request, a new way of retrieving school reports. One of the pain points for institutions currently is they have to wait until test takers allocate their scores through the registration and scores portal, which View manages. And about 50% of applicants completely forget to do it. So that really holds up the process. View are now developing a unique access code, which means that an institution can connect more easily with the candidate and their score report without that candidate having to actually allocate the report. I mentioned that institution management is coming over to our side. So View are developing an API, which means that the data that we manage, so if we're creating or updating the institutions that we're managing, universities, government organizations, and so on, that syncs up with the test takers View manage, so that the test takers are actually seeing a full system. And we are also reliant on View to send us voice print. This is a recording that the test taker makes when they begin their exam, also part of the identification process. So we need to receive those. That won't be through R10. That will be something through called a service called Client Data Interchange. And finally, we will also need a historic import of all the existing institutions, candidates, allocations, and results, 3 years worth. So we need to put in place a structure to receive and surface that information. So the epics in the top half of the slide are largely based on the work that we've agreed to do with View, probably with the exception of CRM integration. So in the US, a number of universities there have their own customer relationship management systems and want a better way of integrating with score data that we supply. So we're in an exploratory phase with that at the moment. Briefly on timeline. The project began in May 2017 with user research. That's when we were uncovering the real pain points that exist with the current score reporting service and planning development to meet and alleviate those pain points. Development didn't formally kick off until November. That was actually when I joined Pearson in last year. And it continued through till around May, June, when we had the first cut of a working website. We have recently been testing integration of data, R10 data, from View with our score reporting service in development. And we're just completing, I'm working with stakeholders in English and Schools assessment to test the journey that we've produced so far. So the working website so far, we've been putting that in front of customers, making sure that we're on the right track, also using it as an opportunity to get more information that will help us refine our development in the coming phase. Okay, Kaphan, I'm going to hand back to you now.
Thanks, Kath. So placement sprint is expected next week. We are just working sprint 0 phase, so wherein we are just onboarding the resources and also taking care of onboarding the onboarding process as well for the resources. And a few analysis has been done from the team. So from next week, we are expecting to start our actual development sprint. So, and then, oh, Kath, you stopped sharing. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. So, and then our milestone is also dependent on View's deliverables. So they are also kicking off their project by this week. So hopefully we will be aligning with their epics and with their deliverables. So our I mean, our timeline is going to be on end of January 19. And then comes the assumption. Any questions so far? Okay, I'll just proceed. Assumptions, dependencies, and risk. We have our own Jira board for the SRW team, and we'll be working out with the stories and estimates from next sprint. And then, like Kat said, we have an existing code base which was developed by the earlier team. So with that as a base, we'll be working on that for the next phase. And then risk and dependencies, we have a separate sheet for that. And I think I have shared it with everyone. So I'll just go over a few things here, which are the important and critical ones. So first thing is, like, we don't have a formal technical transition from the Poznan to Chennai team. So we have been managing that via the documentation, project documents. And also we have help from Eon Moss and then Ola. So they have been of great help for the team. So, and then second .NET resource, we have Srivatsan on board. So he will be joining us by September 12th. So this can be closed as well. And then DevOps transition delay. This is one critical.
Sorry, did you say December 12 or September 12?
Oh, did I say December 12th? Sorry, September 12th.
Okay.
This week, in another 2 days. Yeah. Thanks, Manik. And then we have the DevOps transition delay because we are yet to find a DevOps resource for our team. So infrastructure setup has to be happened as well. We have one more risk for the same. So so we have a call in another 2 hours with Mache and few others to discuss on that plan. So how to take it forward. So that is in line. And then for DB setup and access, so we are working with Mache for DB setup and access. So this is also one dependency to start our development sprint next week. And then, yeah, these are the main things that has been raised as risk and assumptions, and currently working out the possibilities for that. So moving on. Okay, here is the high-level architectural diagram. Let me. Okay, so on the left side, we have the view system wherein the candidates take the test by registering and then taking the test. And then they have view services like R10. So here they used to store the candidates' data and allocations and scores details as well. So they'll be passing on to our tool, which is the SRW side. So here we have a client application and admin UI, and we have APG for securing the connections between Vue and SRW. And in the backend, we have several services like institution service, PDF generation, and scores receiver and application services. We have also tools like migration tools and synchronization. And we have our database to store all the application data and the student course details. So pretty much the site is used by the institution user and the Pearson admin. So this is the high-level architecture. And moving on, the teamwork. So we are going to follow Scrum methodology, which was followed by the previous team as well. So we are also going with that. And communication between CTS and Pearson will be the BAU as like other projects. And we'll be using Jira, Hangouts, and Slack for the project communication and for escalation. And then we have created a working agreement. I mean, it was created already by the previous team, and we have just edited for our purpose. So wherein it will contain all the team details, member details, and then when the sprint planning and review will happen and the communication channels, we have our own ID setup. And then, so every documents related to the project will be located here. So we have all the documents saved here for references. And then we have the design.
Sorry, Kalpana, who owns that Google Drive?
Um,
Is that previously owned or is that a new?
yeah, it was previously owned, and I have got the access now. So
That's fine.
yeah. And then the design link, the Zeppelin link for our project, and the basic details like definition of ready and definition of done to start working on the issues. So those agreements will be mentioned in the working agreement, and the repository and GitHub details, build process. So things like that has been documented here. And then moving on. So here we have listed the governance meetings. So we'll be having a bi-weekly meeting with the Pearson View team. So wherein we'll checking how progress has been made on both ends, and the dependencies and risk will be sorted out during that meeting. And we will have a PMO connect meetings weekly internally. And then for project and escalation, like I said, we have our own channels, and governance meetings, which is a core meeting, and that will happen once in a month. Ram, would you like to take over?
Yeah, I don't have. Can you keep sharing your screen, Kalpana?
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. It's more for the GBS perspective, right? So, Uma, the SLAs and KPIs will be agreed, and it will be delivered as per whatever the MSA between Pearson and Cognizant say. I think there was an attachment there which was removed. I will attach the MSA back. So it will be in line with whatever the other AD projects that we are delivering from Cognizant to Pearson. So that's what this slide is about. Going to the next slide, right? So we are talking about, and this is a standard one that we use. Only change that that is here is about the Scrum Master activities. Generally, it's swapped in other projects, and Kalpana will be doing that activity from Pearson. The responsibility and accountability goes to Pearson in this. Apart from it, I think it's everything remains the same with this particular slide. We'll move on to the next slide.
Yeah, thanks, Ram. So the next steps. So the next steps would be, like as Kat mentioned, we are working on refining our backlog, and also we are having our sprint planning next week. So estimation and all the prioritization will happen next week. And we are continuing with resourcing our DevOps resource and setting up infrastructure. Like I said, we have a discussion post this call, and we will come up with a plan. So any questions?
You mentioned when the first sprint was starting. Can you resuggest what that date was?
Planning the next sprint, Manik, that would be on Tuesday,
Okay.
19th. Sorry, 18th.
All right.
Next Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay. So any other questions?
Nancy, are you asking something? We're not able to hear you. I know. I just see that you went.
No, I was just asking if there are any questions from the audience.
Yeah. I think Nancy went unmute. I don't know whether she was asking anything.
Okay.
So she had problems with her connection later.
No, she said it's okay. Okay.
It's just that trigger happy finger.
Okay, Nancy.
You're talking about me, Manik? No, right. Okay.
No, Nancy.
Okay. And just one question, Kalpana. You said about this SRW thing, right? What is it? in Slack channel. Is that SRW engineering channel that you're talking about?
It's SRW-important. That's the
Sorry,
channel you're in.
what is so? Why is it? Okay, never mind. We'll talk to you separately. I don't know why it's called important, but okay. I mean, it's important, but we don't have to call the channel that.
It was actually it was existing already, and we have just joined that channel.
I think it's how the previous team named it.
Okay.
And I think it was the main channel, and there were other channels. So this was just like, this is the one where everyone's eyes should be, but we can rename it.
Okay.
I see that Manik has created something called SRW engineering, but as of now, just Manik and I in the team.
Oh,
So
okay.
we will. She has
We
linked
we
you.
can sort it out.
Yeah.
Okay. So anything else from anybody? Okay, if not, thank you all for your patience and thank you all for your participation.
Thank you, Kalpana Ram. Can I hold on to you?
Thank you, Kalpana. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye bye.
Thanks, Manik. Thanks.
Goodbye.